All right, everybody, it is February the 2nd. We are rolling into a whole new world here in the United States of America as we prepare for what's about to happen. We have protests taking place all across the USA right now. Some of them are getting massive, and it starts to look a little bit like what we saw with the BLM protests back in the COVID days. What I'm starting to see right now is very similar to that. We're starting to watch the people organize, the media is starting to push a certain agenda, and we're starting to see what could become massive protests across the United States of America. So guys, we are just tuning in here. It is 7:45 to 7:48 p.m. Central Time. I am at the southern end of the Appalachian Trails watching these events of our world happen. Go ahead and drop a location, generalized location of where you're at, maybe anything you did to prepare today. My wife is out there, and we had just made some beef tallow body lotion or hand lotion. 100% beef tallow. We're adding in some things like lemon balm and some other stuff. So that's a little, and we did some rock hunting today. We were looking for arrowheads in a dried up creek bed. So that was our have fun and do a little bit of prep work. Now we're on to seeing what's happening inside the USA. Let's get to it before we wait any longer.
Well, it could happen. If they do anything, we will. Canada's been very abusive of the United States for many years. They don't allow our banks. Did you know that? Canada does not allow banks to go in. If you think about it, that's pretty amazing. If we have a U.S. bank, they don't allow them to go in. Canada's been very tough on oil, on energy. They don't allow our farm products in, essentially. They don't allow a lot of things in, and we allow everything to come in. It's been a one-way street. We subsidize Canada by the tune of about $200 billion a year.
So here's Trump sitting there saying right out in the open what the problems are, that we subsidize Canada, and Canada is ruining the United States of America, the people and the banking system of the United States of America's ability to get ahead. Now, of course, they're looking for a little bit of their own special play here. There is always an agenda going on, but let's face it, we need more money in this country so that hopefully that money filters down to we, the people, at some point in the future. So let's just hope that the right things are being done and that you and I start to see some of the fruits from what is happening right now.
The leadership of Canada.
I've got another video up here tonight. I want to kind of jump right to it if I can find it real quick. This is Trudeau of the Canadian government, and in that video, Trudeau loses it. Like he's asked about what is going to happen with the trade war, and he's asked about, well, what's going to happen when Donald Trump does what he says he's going to do, and he doubles down on Canada's tariffs. Trudeau shuts his mouth immediately. It's really an amazing thing to see how quickly a government leader can be shut down when facing the facts, because let's face it, tariffs are going to tear into the economy. They're also going to make it bad for you and me. I'm not jaded there. I understand that you and I are going to see an increase because these corporations are going to pass that tariff right on to you and me. So we're going to get to it tonight. I can't find it real quick on the tab. Let's see what Trump has to say about the finishing touch here.
Something's going to happen there. But if they wanted to play the game, I don't mind. We can play the game all they want. Mexico, we've had very good talks with them. And this is retaliatory. This is retaliatory to a certain extent. Millions of people flowed into our country through Mexico and Canada.
Now, I'm starting to see a lot of information that the fentanyl crisis inside the USA is actually coming in from Canada. I don't know how the validity of that, but I can see it because Canada is able to get a whole bunch of Chinese chemicals in there without any real regulations. We have another video on that, so make sure that you stay tuned here. So maybe it is. We have people calling in from all over the USA, South Mississippi, talking about Venezuela and the Canada and the Panama Canal. Troy's Reviews says, "G'day, Brad, to the live shows. Heaps of information. Keep up the awesome work." Thank you guys so much. Hey, from Albuquerque. So glad to have you here. All right, let's move past this. All right, this is the Polish soldiers opening fire on, now I don't know the types of people these are, but they're definitely border invaders into Europe from Belarus. We have multiple videos here of this exact thing happening. These guys are trying everything they can. And remember, a lot of times they are funded by taxpayer money. And a lot of times the money that we give, your and my money, the taxes, goes to these other European countries that then use this type of money to pass through to people. Now, look, this is a border wall. And these guys are in there with a jack, like a car jack that you put under your vehicle to jack it up to change your tire. On the other side, you've got razor wire. You have barbed wire. Now, you also have, and maybe they didn't know it at the time, but you also have some soldiers. Now, let's watch what happens next after this. So here's the guys coming in, right? And they obviously got through. So you can see that borders are really kind of, look at how happy they are to be illegally entering into this other country through. This is obvious. You know you're not supposed to go here, right? How could this be any more clear that you're not supposed to be here? Yet they're trying to enter in. Now, some soldiers apparently found this. And it says that they maybe opened a little bit of the fire, the old F around and find out right on them. Video. So they're throwing things at the soldiers, which you've got to not be in your right mind, right? You got the guys with guns on the other side of this. Hey, Red Hot Gaming. No, you're not very late. We're only about 8 minutes into the broadcast. You've got the guys with the GUNs right on the other side of the fence. And you're throwing rocks at them? Boy, this ain't America. You can't do that kind of thing there. Video. So they're claiming, they're like, oh, we're on video. You can't do nothing.
Video. This is the Poland army. We are trying to go. We are not doing anything. Shoot me.
He says, we're not doing anything. Oh, except illegally entering into your country, crossing a fence that's obviously meant to keep me out of your country. Now, I don't know if it was a soldier that popped it there, but somebody definitely decided to pull that trigger.
We show everything to humanity.
Yeah, he says, listen to that.
I will show everything to humanity.
Okay, so they're saying we show everything to humanity, but there are some humanity-named non-profit, non-governmental organizations out there that your tax money goes to. And I wonder if that's who they are actually talking about. Maybe that's who's funding them. This is Colorado, back in the USA. A police officer asks this person about their immigration status, and the guy tells the police, you're not allowed to ask me that. Now, they say that the leadership in Colorado is making this very well known, that they don't have to answer these questions to the police.
Status in a minute. I'm going to go check your status in a minute.
All right. You know what? I'm going to record this. Can I have your name and batch number?
Yeah, my name's Jenkins.
And your batch number?
744.
Yours?
Ramirez, 4861.
Okay. We're not supposed to ask, no question or nothing, and,
All right.
I can't answer for him or nothing.
All right.
Understand?
I hope you do have status.
Okay.
Now, these officers are saying, I hope you got status here, because if you don't, you're going back in the back of this van. Now, what did this guy have on his hip?
861.
Okay.
Is that, I don't know. Is that an open carry firearm? I don't think that's a Colorado thing. Interesting. Yeah, somebody else is asking. There's always, he says there's always one of these. I don't know whether he means the beanie, the guy with his pants down a little. He just got put in cuffs, so maybe that's why his pants are pulled down a little bit. Here's a little meme about Trump saying, I'm going to build a wall so high you won't be able to see the climate. Or you won't be, okay, I get it. Do you guys get it? Climate, like climate change, except with a redneck accent. He says, I'm going to build a wall so high you won't be able to climb it. I kind of like that. Maybe that's a motto for 2025. All right, let's move forward. Here's the Canadian Conservative leader saying about tariffs. Why aren't you tariffing China? Now, he's saying it for the wrong reasons, right? But listen.
First, to our American friends. You are our friends. You are our neighbors. We share the longest undefended border in the history of the world. You buy our products, and we buy yours. You have a trade surplus with us when energy is excluded.
Thanks, Gabe.
And when it is included, the deal is even better for you because you buy our oil and our gas at massive price discounts. Not because we're nice Canadians, but because here at home we've made really dumb decisions to prevent us from exporting our energy to any other countries. But either way, Americans are better off with this friendship. We share a continent. We share the same risks, and the same potential
Backwards
enemies.
backwards screen every time you stream. Yeah, so you'll notice there's a little button up there at the top that says notice. This part of the video will be inverted or backwards for publishing reasons. So it's done on purpose. For the audio, the video, it doesn't really matter too much. Anytime there's something really to read, I try to flip it over so that we can read it together.
From around the world. Those kinds of enemies can metastasize into real dangers and actual attacks, as you saw suddenly and unexpectedly on 9/11. It's good to have friends when those sorts of things happen.
Okay, so they're saying we needed Canada? Hold on a second. Is this dude saying that America needed Canada when the September attack happened? I'm not sure I'm following all the way there.
And let me ask my American friends this question. Even if you believe in tariffs, how is it possible to put a 25% tariff on Canada and only a 10% tariff on China?
Well, for one, we need China a lot more than China needs us here in America. That's fact. We need China's cheap slave labor a lot more than we need Canada's materials or Canada's products. So that's why there's only a 10% tariff on China, but a 25%. This is a threat tariff. Don't get me wrong. This isn't going to last forever. But it is like a look what we can do kind of event.
In what strategic mindset does that make sense? If it's to do with fentanyl, the fentanyl's coming from China. It's killing our people too.
Maurice, thank you so much for the super chat. I trick or treat with a colostomy bag. Is it hooked up or not hooked up? And if it's not hooked up, do the people answering the doors know what it is? But if it's with a colostomy bag hooked up, I'm glad you're out there.
More to stop it. But we can do more when we do it together.
Okay, so there they are. Maple syrup matters. All syrup. Yeah, I agree. U.S. Marines arriving at Guantanamo Bay. Let me flip this around so you guys can see it normies here with me. U.S. Marines arriving at Guantanamo Bay, supporting the Department of Defense and Homeland Security in the expansion of migrant operation centers. This says advanced president. This is the White House. You can see right here. White House X account. This is advancing President Trump's mission to protect Americans and secure our nation. Here's a little bit of the posted photos coming off. Now, I have very interesting feelings about this, okay? For me, Guantanamo, knowing what happens there and what can happen there because it acts outside of U.S. territory, I would hope that only the violent baddies go there. If that's going to be used, I hope it's only the violent baddies that go there. Because it's happening outside of a lot of rules and regulations. Sure, there's a lot more oversight since they showed the guy with the mop bucket or whatever, but it's still not a place for like children or people who are vulnerable. So I would hope the baddies go there and nobody else. But that's just my thoughts. Whatever's going on is going on. This says Guantanamo is located on the southeastern side of Cuba, 430 miles southeast of Miami, a U.S. naval base occupying 45 square miles of land and water on the shore. The base has been leased to the United States of America since 1903. Looks like I'm getting a... Okay, my stream's back. It is the oldest overseas U.S. naval base. The U.S. retains jurisdiction. Cuba maintains the sovereignty, surrounded by a 17-mile fence line. I guess to keep Guantanamo safe again. Here is the video saying that this is the militarization of the U.S. border. And I'm all for this part, guys. That's what the military is for, to protect our homeland. I got to flip it around. Hold on. So here's our soldiers out there putting the work in, securing the U.S. border. I hope that type of thing can continue. It needs to continue. Here's some old video of Trump. I'm sure there's epic music playing, so I'm not going to play that epic music, but here's some old video of him Oh, come on, guys. Don't hit me with that. All right, we're out of there. Okay, here is Pierre on fentanyl.
Now threatening our trade. The results are in on the Prime Minister's radical liberalization of hard drugs. He teamed up with the BC NDP to decriminalize fentanyl, crack, and heroin. He lowered jail sentences for mass liberalization of hard. The results are in on the Prime Minister's radical liberalization of hard drugs. He teamed up with the BC NDP to decriminalize.
Okay, I thought he was saying Trump was decriminalizing hard drugs.
Fentanyl, crack, and heroin. He lowered jail sentences for mass producers of deadly fentanyl, and 80% of the fentanyl made in Canada is done so using ingredients that are not even regulated, but come right into our country where they're cooked into that poison. Now threatening our trade relationship with the U.S. Will he reverse his radical liberal drug agenda to save lives and jobs?
So they're talking about Trudeau, I believe.
He's not there to do the work of delivering.
Have you seen all of like the Trudeau and have you seen who they say his daddy is? Fidel Castro, right? Let's look at a little Trudeau. I don't know how to spell his name. And Fidel Castro, side by side. Let's see if there's a side by side here. Okay. They say this is Trudeau Castro. And they also, I guess this is supposedly a real image of Trudeau's mom with Castro. I can't speak on the validity of that. I wasn't there. But definitely a lot of similarities here. I mean, I look kind of like my dad, right? My brother looks kind of like my dad. Is this dude's dad? Interesting. Thank you so much, Red Hot Gaming. Love the live chats and the videos that you guys bring us every day, Brad and Kelly. Thank you for the hard work you do to bring the information. It is appreciated, and we're appreciative of you guys being here. And thank you always for the, for the super chats and the supporting our family. Red Hot, you're already a member here, so you're the reason why these videos even exist. His stepdad has quite a history. Who's your daddy? His mom was visiting Cuba when she conceived. It's very interesting compared to his biological dad.
Based on science, based on compassion, based on a public health approach on dealing with the toxic drug epidemic. He is
He looks a little strung out, cracked out here.
Instead continuing to try to score cheap political points on the backs of the most vulnerable. That's not serious. That's not responsible.
What is not responsible?
All right, don't crash out, Trudeau. Canada needs you. Tom Homan, border crossings are down 93%, he says, under Trump.
So far.
Well, look, I looked at the numbers this morning, Maria. The crossings on the border are down 93%. 93%.
Wow.
That's a bigger decrease than under the first Trump administration. So, look, I said it. President Trump is a game changer. No one has had the success he's had on securing the border.
Does Homan always have that little bit of like a trouble speaking? I don't know if I've ever noticed that.
He clearly understands we can't have strong national security.
Maybe he's hitting that Zin pouch like our like RFK Jr.
If we don't have border security, we need to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in, why it's coming in, and we have achieved a success on the border already. We got more work to do, and on top of that, as far as the deportation operation, we're just shy of. I think we got 5,000 already arrested the first week, and majority of them being criminals.
Hey there, it's Ingrid and Charlie from Alberta. We appreciate your news daily and updates every day. And Ingrid and Charlie, we're glad that you're here. So guys, thanks for tuning in with us. We love our Canadian and our Mexican viewers and our viewers from everywhere. Because if we're here together, then we know that it's them versus us, right? No matter where you were brought up or what religion you were brought up in, you know it's them versus us. And so if you're just doing your hard work to get your family ready, do it.
The non-criminals, and the media's talking about, who are these non-criminals? The non-criminals are arrested in sanctuary cities because you force us into the community rather than arresting the bad guy in the jail. And when we find that criminal, he's most likely with others, and they're going to go
Maya
too.
From,
so if you want to be a sanctuary city.
So we do have lots of these protests happening because of this. Here's a little bit of a emerging sunspot video. Anytime the sunspot gives a face like that at the upper left-hand corner, I got to watch out because that means the sun's looking right at us And that's what I see happening here. Not that where the mouse is, but this right here. The big old, Valentine's Day wax lip face. All right, here's some of the protests. Look at this. If you don't start to see some of the symbolism that is very close to the beginning of the protest during the COVID era, I'm starting to see very similar events taking place. And the audacity for all these people flying Mexican flags in American territory, driving their American vehicles, paying their American tax, sending their kids to American school, going to an American doctor. The audacity blows my mind. And like somebody said in a video yesterday, could you imagine going to another country, a hostile, potentially hostile country, or one that you're saying is hostile, and flying a flag away from that country? Try doing that in the Middle East for a day. Try doing that in some European countries for a day. Try standing up in Russia and flying the American flag, saying Russia's so bad for a day, and just see what happens. So if you want to really look at the ideas and what's allowed to proliferate here in the USA, here you go. Where did you hear that, Bob Jones? I didn't see what Bob had to say. Stand with Mexican food. And sometimes you sit down with it, so just be careful. Here is RFK Jr. Now, according to this report, he revealed that USAID was actually a CIA front, funneling billions of dollars, igniting riots in Ukraine. According to him, these backed by CIA riots triggered a coup d'etat. So, let's see.
There are riots it's called the Maidan Rebellion in Ukraine, which we're not told that we are financing those riots. The newspapers never told us, our government never told us. USAID, which is a CIA front, put $5 billion into funding those riots. Those riots lead to a coup d'etat against the first democratically elected government of the Ukraine.
There's been a lot of truth spilled, and a lot of knowledge or understanding that the conspiracies of yesteryear became the realities of this year. And so we're starting to just kind of like see what it means as a country for people to have been told lies for so long, and now it's out in the open. And how are they handling that? A lot of people aren't handling it very well.
It was a government that refused to choose sides and to say we're going to be on the side of the West. So we wanted them out. A month before that government is overthrown, Victoria Nuland, who's the part of the centerpiece of the.
Okay, so he goes on talking about they're picking new governments month before the old government is overthrown. And who's he talking about? Well, a part of the U.S. government, and that's who he's going to be a part of now. And so there comes a point where you shake the foundation so much that a house cannot stand on it. And that's what worries me, is that is the changes that are happening going to shake. Thanks so much, Chris Alger, for becoming a member via the live stream. And thank you to all of our members who have said, make these public for everybody, not just the members. And so thank you guys so much. So do you shake the foundation with this truth so much that a house can't stand on it? And that house is the society that we know and understand today. Maurice says, I started the Vietnam War and I ended it. Gary Coleman is not going to run over me again. I will never make Dave Mustaine the U.S. president again. I don't know who Dave Mustaine is, and I'm taking a risk here to see who it is. Okay, American musician. Thank God it's not an adult film star or something. Okay, so David Scott Mustaine. Yeah, I don't think this guy does line up for the presidency, but if he does, maybe he's got a whole bunch going on. So thank you so much for the super chat, Maurice. Canada's clearing it out. Let's see what else we got here. Rip Curl Readiness. How you doing? Bring back real doctors, not pill pushers. Bingo. But let's see if that ever gets done. All right, so I don't want to, maybe we'll come back to this. I'll leave it up. Okay, this was what I was trying to find earlier. Justin Trudeau. They say on this, a little bit inflammatory. They say he got his smug smile wiped off his face when the reporter says, well, what are we going to do if Donald Trump follows through and he actually doubles down on the tariffs? Let's listen.
Did you first learn that President Trump intends to increase tariffs if Canada retaliates, and how has that changed your strategy?
He don't really got much to say there. Let's listen again.
When did you first learn that President Trump intends to increase tariffs if Canada retaliates, and how has that changed your strategy?
That's a tough one, isn't it? Because if Trump's crazy enough to do it, and he does it twice, could you imagine 50% tariffs? This guy would be he would be ran over. He would be ran through. He would be ran through. And I think Trump would do it. It's crazy. I couldn't imagine the shock to the economy on 50% Canadian tariffs, because every bit of that is getting passed on to you and me, the people. But Trudeau obviously realizes that that's not a thing you play with.
I think Canadians understand that we need to respond to this. We need to respond in a way that is appropriate, that is measured but forceful, and that meets the moment. We're certainly not looking to escalate.
So there's a little backtrack, right? After this, well, we're just going to tariff the USA. Now he says, hold on, we have to respond, but we're not looking to escalate. So a little bit there. Who's going to blink first? That's right. Yeah, he's Cuban, somebody says. We just did a little Castro-Trudeau image comparison. Trump on the Panama Canal saying we are going to take it back, the USA.
Great wonders of the world. And we didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama. And Panama's been ripping down all the China language signs. They've been working like mad to try, but about 70% of the signs were up and they were written in Chinese, and that's not the deal. So we're going to take it back. They've already offered to do many things, but we think it's appropriate that we take it back. They've totally violated the agreement. We have an agreement. They violated the agreement, and Marco Rubio's going over there to talk to the gentleman that's in charge.
So a lot of interesting talk there on taking back the Panama Canal. China's not happy with that. And I think Trump knows that we can't push China too far, because China does hold a lot of the cards that we need for our normal everyday day-to-day life. China, if your air conditioner breaks in your house, do you think we're making that in-house? No. How about the parts for your vehicle? Are we making those parts in-house? Even American vehicles? No, a lot of those parts are made overseas using servant labor. Everything, the pharmaceuticals, the minerals that are still allowed to go through, each one of those things. Hey, Peter K, haven't seen you on here on a live. Peter K says, love the live feed. Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter K, for what you do here. Don't forget, if you, anybody who wants to super chat $10, go click the join button down below and just join us for that month. And then you'll at least, be a member of the channel. So thank you so much. So he's there saying, obviously, that we're going to take it back. China, we can't rock that boat. We can rock the... I don't know which one's scarier. For Trump and everyone to rock the boat of the pharmaceutical agencies, or for Trump to rock the boat of China. Greece ordered all their schools to close. Dozens of earthquakes are shattering the island. Eddie, thank you so much for becoming a member here on off of one of these videos. Thank you. Greece orders all their schools to close. Alberta, we don't want Eastern Canada, says Trudolph's tampon. I'm thankful that your profile image does not reflect the name. So Greece has a lot of mini quakes today. A lot's happening there. They're already calling in people to go and check the seismology. I've got to skip past that because there's a lot of wildness happening with that. I'm trying to make sure that nothing big happened right now with Greece.
How hurt and frankly how furious Canadians are.
Okay, who is this? Canadian PM Freeland says Canadians are super hurt. Just cut it out, they say. Sometimes, and I have a lot of Canadian friends. I have family in Canada. Sometimes when the Canadian leadership goes online, they say things that sound like somebody's mom who their child just runs all over them.
Americans have to understand how hurt and frankly how furious Canadians are. Our sovereignty is being challenged. And so, yeah, regular Canadians across the country are coming up with ways to stand for Canada, to fight for Canada, to defend Canada, but mostly to say...
Brothers and sisters all over the world, guys, we are not a... if you grew up in Afghanistan and you're a good person and you want to take care of your family and you see what they're doing here, you're a member of the prepper community.
To our American neighbors, guys, just cut it out.
Cut it out, guys. America, cut it out, okay? This is the last time I'm going to ask you before I ask you nicely next time, okay? Here's Secretary Nome. No, this is pointing out to them. This is saying that the U.S. border is now secured by our people. Look at this. I mean, this is a show of force, right? Yeah, the backwards is on purpose. You'll notice a thing in the top right that says they're inverted for publishing reasons. When it's text, we flip it the other way. But for the video, it's okay to be backwards. Okay, let's move past that. Here's the refinery. Now, in California, this refinery was seen as a level 2 hazmat situation. What they're not telling you is that very soon, all of these particulates that get aerosolized and taken up in the clouds are going to rain back down on the salad bowl of the country, of the USA. We get almost 80% of our greens, leafy greens, from Canada, where they have a level 2 hazmat situation. Do you see anybody saying we got to make this safer? No, they're worried about you driving a vehicle, an electric vehicle. They're worried about you having a gas generator. They're worried about all these other things. They're not worried about these corporations that are sending up toxic chemicals that are going to rain back down on our food they're going to feed to us. Why? Because there will be no accountability by the time we eat that and get sick. And so if there's no accountability, then it doesn't really matter to them. How many cars, how many diesel trucks would you have to drive to equate to a level 2 hazmat situation, blowing toxic smoke up into the air unhindered for hours or days? That's what I would like to know. How many trucks would I have to drive? And you know what? Let's ask Grok. I think this is a good use of Grok here. How many diesel trucks would I have to drive to equal the amount of toxic chemicals that get released in a level 2 hazmat battery plant fire or trash fire for days? Let's see what Grok's got to say. To answer your question about how many diesel trucks you would need to drive to equal the emissions, it goes on to talk about the lithium batteries, the trash fires, comparing emissions, but let's get to the meat of it here. Given these conditions, it's challenging to provide an exact number of diesel trucks that are... let me flip it around so you guys can read this, because this is okay. Given the considerations, it's challenging to provide an exact number of diesel trucks equivalent to the emissions from such a fire without specific data on the fire size or materials involved. You have short-term exposure, long-term exposure. Says we can't give a price per number, but you could think in terms of thousands of trucks. Thousands of trucks is what Grok says, without giving an exact number. So I would have to drive thousands. And remember, you get to thousands until you have tens of thousands. And sometimes you're at tens of thousands before you're at 100,000. So I would have to drive maybe 10,000 huge trucks to be able to equal the emissions from one day of a toxic level 2 hazmat plant fire. Let's see. Eddie Fannin, Deputy Sheriff, listen, people, please. Russell Berta. Thank you guys for the super chat. Russell, this is your first time on a super chat here, and Eddie also. So thank you guys so much for supporting the community. And Eddie's a member of our channel. So thank you, Eddie. Yeah, 100,000 trucks. I mean, this is just getting ridiculous, folks. That they don't even say anything about it. That these toxic chemicals are up in the air, down on our food, and are the companies held accountable? No. You are. You're taxed. You're held accountable. You're looked down on. They complain about you and all the bad things that your carbon footprint can do, but they don't say anything. It definitely is a help, Russell. Thank you so much. All right, let's move past before we all blow a truck gasket. Here's more of this is a police officer of the Salem, Oregon Police Department, surrounded by what they say is Mexican nationalists. I can't verify that. Obviously protesters, waving the Mexican flag on American territory, which no one seems to get the irony of that. They say they're mad for deporting illegal foreign nationals. Okay. So here's a cop right here. Now he knows he's got to get out of his vehicle, right? Because if these guys start tanking on his vehicle, well, he's just stuck. Now look how quickly the shift changes in a mob or a group of people. And that's what, hey, Jordan, glad to have you here. Jordan's one of our moderators and a friend of mine. So look at how quick this shift in the mob mentality changes, right? They're all real respectful as the cop gets out of the car because he might start getting them. But now they see he's going to turn his back, okay? He turns his back. He goes over here and he tells this guy, I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit so you guys can hear me. Don't be scared. Be prepared, says Sick and Tired. 1,000%. We know what's going on in this world. You don't have to be afraid of it. Just like car accidents happen and you don't get into your car and you're like, oh my God, I can't drive. Some people with anxiety disorder do. But for the most of us, we're like, yeah, we know. And I'm going to do everything I can not to get into an accident. Well, that's what being prepared is. You know how bad this world is getting. And you say, you know what? I'm going to do everything I can not to be a victim of what's happening. So thank you so much. So this cop gets over here and he goes to tell this guy, you can tell it's him with his flow pipes there, he's in neutral because he doesn't drive his stick apparently. This cop's like, hey, shut it down, right? Now the crowd turns on him. And you can see how quickly that shift is. And that's why I tell you to get your kids out of these environments and tell your wife and your husband, or if you're in some states, your husband's husband, to get out of these environments and don't put yourself in positions where you can have this type of thing happen to you, where it could be you seen as a victim or a potential victim to the crowd. Every one of these people just turned into the predator mindset. And so this cop has a choice, fight or flight. He can either show strength and stay there, or he can try to back out. Now, if he backs out, I know what's going to happen. They would all tear his car apart, right? That's what mobs do. But they have no problem getting in front of his face right here. The guy with the mask says, let's do this. Look at him, smacking his hand down like he's going to bow up and actually do something. I saw reports that they were actually like hitting him into his vehicle there. He's overwhelmed. He can't. What can he do about it? Well, we all know what he could do about it. Never get out of your vehicle. Never turn your back. First of all, don't get into those positions. So crazy to see that live view of the crowd changing. Everybody's fine here at the beginning. Just a little protest, right? Of course, they're blocking your mode of transportation, potentially putting you and your family in danger. But then it's right about here that everything changes. Right now. They all decide at once. And it's some sort of collective consciousness or something that happens outside of my real... I know it's happening. I can see it happen. But understanding how it happens, where they all shift at the same time, I don't understand that. That's kind of like, they call it collective consciousness or shared ideas. And it's the same way that hundreds of years ago and still today, inventions on different sides of the world, even when we didn't have communication, were taking place at the same time. There was like a shared consciousness, and it happens to your detriment here. I feel really bad for your buddy, CP. I didn't see CP come in here. I don't, maybe you're not talking about Canadian prepper. Okay, let's move on. U.S. President Donald Trump says we'll be cutting off, let me see, are we, okay, we're back. Cutting off all future funding to South Africa until investigations of how the treatment of certain classes of people are happening and how these investigations are completed. The first guy down here, Southern Fried Crypto, says I have no idea what that means, but I know what that means. And if you don't know what that means, you've never watched South Africa. And to see the treatment of certain groups of people inside of South Africa. I'm going to flip this video back around so we don't get in trouble with YouTube or the publishers. This is New York City. They say it's becoming safer. They say all the alien, illegal bootleggers are gone.
Cleaned up Trump cleaned up Midtown Manhattan in New York City. I am literally telling you, every single day, right here where the Empire State Building is at, this is what, 34th, whatever, and Broadway 6th Avenue, right? They intersect there. This right here, this whole area, wrapped around left and right.
Now, I don't know. Like, I'm not from New York. So this could be an area that doesn't ever look trashy. But I do know New York, and a lot of it tends to look trashy. And just like anywhere, you got big cities. You got Tampa, Florida, Miami, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, big cities in Texas, big cities in California. They all look trashy, right? Because you get a lot of homeless problems. You get a lot of people, vagrant problems. You get a lot of people who don't care about their environment, and I mean their immediate environment. Like, they're just throwing trash everywhere. You got people shooting up in the corner like in Louisiana. So definitely, this looks cleaner. Now, is this Trump doing this? Is this everyone's afraid of ICE, and so they're staying inside? I don't know. Thanks, Ingrid.
You usually have your freaking illegals with the blankets out, selling like bootleg stuff. It has been empty. Empty.
I'm glad you caught it too, Bill.
Since Trump started deporting people. Like, rain, sleet, or snow, this whole block, that whole block over there, all this would be laid out with bootleg stuff by illegals.
Okay, where did he say this was?
That whole block over there, people. Like, rain, sleet, or snow, this whole block, that whole block over there, all this would be laid out with bootleg stuff by illegals. This whole strip, gone. I haven't seen them for about a week.
In fact, I don't really see anybody who doesn't look sort of business oriented here. And this video kind of reminds me back of those old early 1900s videos where people dressed nicely, like they cared about the way that they looked. And there was a certain idea that everybody needed to have an appearance understanding. And so the women dressed a certain way, the men dressed a certain way, so I hope that that's the way our country could get back to. Wouldn't it be nice? And people were broke, guys. It's not like you were running around in these super expensive suits. You had your suit, and you worked for your suit, and you wore your suit, and you kept yourself, whether you had a beard or you were clean shaven, you kept yourself in a nice appearance. I hope that we get back there someday. Maybe we will.
I've seen them. That side as well. You cleaned it up. This is incredible. Look at this. I have not seen this in years. I am telling you that all the illegals are gone from here. They're hiding. They're not out here bootlegging. It is feeling a little bit safer. Starting to like this.
Okay, so I like that guy. I mean, he's out there showing you how it is. That's what I like to see. This is citizen journalism right here. Citizen reporting. That's what we need to see. People actually say, yeah, people had class. That's right. Suits are overrated. Yeah, you're right. Nobody in here is in a suit. I'm not saying we all need to get back to suits. That's just the way it was back then. They just all look like they decided they were going to look in the mirror today and be proud of the way they looked, whether they were big or tall or short or skinny or thick or whatever. They were like, you know what? I'm going to look good when I go out today. And that's what they did. That's what we need to get back to.
That whole block.
All right, let's skip. I wanted to reiterate on this, okay? For everybody who says the inflation is not going to get worse. This is JP Morgan. Okay? Jamie Dimon, excuse me, of JP Morgan. The banks right now. Let's ask Grok another question, okay? How much of the US economy is driven by investments related to JP Morgan? Determining the exact portion, of course, is hard. There's indirect impact, consumer business influence. Let's see. How many billions of dollars are impacted? Here's how many billions of dollars are impacted by JP Morgan's activities. Okay, talking about Gap Initiative, 30 billion, Florida economy, then that's just one state. Direct impacts, at least $122 billion directly related to JP Morgan. Okay, think about that number for a second. $122 billion directly related to JP Morgan. Okay? And let's hear what Jamie Dimon's JP Morgan has to say.
Your colleague was on stage talking about how your firm has created a quote-unquote war room that's looking at each of these executive orders as they come in, trying to assess what they mean for the bank and I imagine for your clients.
So we always, I mean, war room may be a bad word, but this is a real-time, full thing, analyzing for clients, for communities, for a bank.
I've got a little bit of a stream feed slowdown. I'm going to wait a second because I really want you guys to hear what's happening here. I don't want it to be kind of washed out. Let me just give it a second, see if we come back here. Don't do it, YouTube. Don't close the stream, bro. When you tell the truth, they close the stream. Don't do it, YouTube. We need you. All right, let's see. Maury. Who are we talking about, Maury, there? All right, come on, YouTube. Let's get back here. Are we back? Tell me in the chat if we're here, if you're hearing me. Give me an all good 5x5, thumbs up, whatever it is. I think we're good. I see some green, okay? All right, let's go with JP Morgan.
We get a million questions, stuff like that. Yeah, look, I look at tariffs. They are an economic tool. That's it.
First thing he says there is the scary part. Tariffs are an economic tool, which we know.
They're an economic weapon, depending how
they're a weapon, which we know.
You use it and why you use it and stuff like that. And, people argue, is it inflationary and non-inflationary?
Now, here's the trouble.
People argue, is it inflationary and non-inflationary?
Thank you, guys.
I would put in perspective, if it's a little inflationary, but it's good for national security, so be it. I mean,
So he says right there, if it's inflationary, that means if your prices are going to go up as a citizen, but it's good for national security, then so be it. So here's a guy controlling hundreds of billions of US dollars, saying that if your prices go up this year, so be it, if it's good for national security. Now, the government is not going to argue with him. You're not going to see really anyone argue with him. What you are going to have is a whole bunch of people in the economy who want your prices to go up. And they're going to keep your prices going up and up and up until you literally can't afford to do anything. And so, guys, we are kind of like entering that time where things are scary, where we have to really watch what's happening, and we just have to pay attention and be with your friends and family and say, okay, we know what's up. Yeah, they got me. Hit refresh. If you're having trouble viewing it, hit refresh or F5. Okay. Yeah, stop telling the truth. I know. Come back. Yeah, we're here, bro. We're all here. It's just YouTube decided that they didn't want that bit of information out there. So let's see what else we've got. I'm going to dump this one here. I can dump Grok. Yeah, got policed. I'm going to protest. You want me to protest, bro? Crazy.
I already know what's going on.
So we've got more protests happening there. Let's see. I'm going to give this a second. Reload if you're having trouble, Jordan says. Back out, go into watch history or mobile and go back in. You know, you can only say so much truth, right? And that's what it comes down to. You can't talk too much. I'm going to give it a second here and see if we can. Okay, maybe we're back here. 1,900 kilobytes. Come on, Elon Musk. You know what's up, Elon. Help me out here. This is what happens when you expose anyone you can't criticize. Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't it be interesting if it closed me down again? Wouldn't it be interesting if that's how it worked? And as soon as you said something you weren't supposed to, they shut you down. I wouldn't doubt it. Would you guys? Because I see this type of, I don't even want to call it censorship, but I see this type of thing happen. Certain words are used and you're yanked. I got booted again. Yeah, me too. Okay, maybe we're good for a second. A half a second. Mike Ben says, and I'm going to make it forward facing, so not inverted, so you guys can read with me. Trump prosecutors were funded by USAID. This push to prosecute Trump, Soros was a minor co-founder. He gave thousands of dollars. The $14 million he gave to a parent company, the fiscal sponsorship, fair and just practice. It's nothing compared to the larger amount, they say. This goes over some of the donorships and what has happened there. What's happening with all the problems with jets and airlines? Yeah, they are onto me tonight. You know, we're looking at a bigger airline issue than we understand. And it started with Boeing. And I had some information. Hit refresh, guys. I had some information that what was happening with Boeing was more than coincidental. And all the people that were getting getted or getting themselves off, they were exposing something that shouldn't have been exposed. A lot of people said it was Russia. Some people said it was China. Rugged Rick says, Brad, didn't Trump sign an executive order forbidding censorship? No, unfortunately, on a private platform, you know, the private platform can do really whatever they want, no matter how widely monopolized or used it is. Close YouTube and come back if you have a problem. That might help it. It's too bad, too, because we had a lot of people in here talking some really good talk with each other. Okay, here's an LAPD standoff with anti-ICE protesters blocking the freeway in Los Angeles. Let me make this video lesser quality. So there's the cops. We might have chips in there somewhere. Chips, if you're old like me, were the cops on motorcycles, the California Highway Patrol. I don't know what the I stood for. Does anybody know what the I ever stood for? California Highway Inbred Patrol? I have no idea. But these look like just regular riot control cops, getting ready to go up against the rioters, or protesters as you call them. I didn't know you were that old, Brad. Yeah, my white hairs tell me otherwise. President of Panama, Jose Raul Molino. He says he announced that following his meeting yesterday with the U.S. Secretary of State, Rubio, Panama has decided not to renew. Let me make sure that you guys can read this with me. Panama has decided not to renew their Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, and that they will void their agreement with the Chinese government prior to that date. So that's a big deal. That is a very, very big deal. Now, he just speaks in Spanish here.
Que adopté que se firmó cuando se firmó en el tiempo que se firmó.
I wouldn't know what he was saying, but I just kind of, I've seen it reported all over. Brad is Benjamin Button. Oh, man. Well, I guess you're pooping your pants one way or the other, whether you're getting old enough to do it or you're regressing. After a meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State, the president of Panama announced that his government will not renew. So a lot of people are reporting on this. Canada will seek to work with the U.S. on new investments. Interesting. Here's Russian President Vladimir Putin. He says that all of Europe's elites will very soon stand at Donald Trump's feet, and they will gently wag their tails.
Со времен Байдена, да ничего не изменилось. Они с удовольствием выполняли любой приказ со стороны Вашингтона.
Let's see. Maybe we can get away with it.
Не нравится, они с ним боролись активно.
He says they just don't like Trump. They fought him actively. Really interfered in political life and the election process in the United States.
Реально вмешивались в политическую жизнь, предвыборный процесс в Соединенных Штатах, а потом растерялись,
And then they were confused when Trump suddenly won, he continues.
когда
So Matt, if you weren't here at the first half, we showed a lot of videos of protests that are happening all across the USA right now. And these protests are very similar to the protests that we saw during the COVID era, where businesses were burnt down, your freedom of locomotion was impeded by protesters. The police weren't really doing anything, so it's definitely worth keeping an eye on.
Трамп вдруг выиграл. И потом Байден...
Okay. Well, I don't want you guys to keep getting hit by this, by these pauses. Let me see if anything else is playing here in the background that might be screwing us up. Okay, this is interesting to watch. Secretary Sean Duffy. The primary NOTAM system is experiencing an outage. There's currently no impact, they say, on the national aerospace system because a backup system is in place. Not the maple syrup. NOTAMs provide updates about anything that may affect the safety of a flight. Active NOTAMs are available until the time of the outage. The FAA is working to fully restore the system. So again, maybe there's something bigger going on here. And if there is, who's doing it? Is it our own government? Is it the Russians? Is it the Chinese? Those are some things that we need to start asking ourselves, is who is out here doing these things? Let's see. YouTube, I do not have excellent connection right now. I think that is a falsehood.
Trump has authorized that the DOD can...
Okay, let's see if I maybe just get rid of these. Let's see what clears up here. Are you going to do it for me, YouTube? Are you bringing me back? Come on, Brittany. No, it's maybe. It might be getting a little bit better. So maybe I'm having a problem because I'm using x.com links. Now, I don't know. Is YouTube that up on their ops? Maybe the real ops are after me. This says Trump has announced a significant new tariff on Mexico, Canada, and China, sparking retaliatory actions. Let's see. Hours later, Mexican president said that her country will impose retaliatory tariffs. The Canadian Prime Minister announced far-reaching tariffs, retaliatory tariffs against America. It seems like right as soon as we get to about an hour, we get some problems, doesn't it? But the voice is clear? Okay. As long as the voice stays clear, I think we're good to go. Here, those close to the battery plant that got burned in California are having problems. Yeah, I've also seen that the people close to there are having lung issues. Well, guys, I think that about wraps up our Sunday night live show together. I'm going to try to fix something up with the internet connection here. I don't know why we're dropping so many frames. Yeah, 4 crashes in 4 days with the airlines. Got to watch out for that. I don't know why we're starting to see so much of that. Your family needs to be safe. And that's what you need to think about. And if you don't have a family that you're keeping safe, I don't care if it's your dog or your goldfish. Prep for them and prep for you, because we are starting to see bigger things happen. And the real scary part is that, get rid of Grok, backdoor remote control technology, probably. The real scary part is that it's kind of like a catalyst. And so if you add certain ingredients in, it's like a recipe, right? And the recipe is for unrest. Well, all the ingredients that it calls for don't make unrest until you add them all in. Separately, you'll have a little bit of egg white, and that might be your... Oh, guys, it closed me out again. What is going on here? Come on now. Let's see if I can get back to it, because I'm still here. But it doesn't look like they want us here talking about these things. Let's see. I'll give it a couple of seconds, and we can wrap up that just a discussion about the recipe. Okay. If you're not deleted yet, then hit F5 or refresh, go back out and come back in. So if the recipe is unrest or the recipe is crisis or catastrophe, you have to have all the ingredients in line, because you might have civil unrest. That's just one ingredient. But until you mix it with social chaos or social distrust or malcontent, it doesn't make the bigger recipe. And so that's what's happening out there. Guys, just please be aware of these events. Looks like we are just getting shut down here. I'm going to try to get some things fixed on my end. Hopefully we can get back into it together. But from my family to yours, please stay safe. Thanks for being here with us.